there, welcome back to my channel. I recently did a video where I was talking about my eyeshadow palettes with my favorite packaging, and I thought it would also be fun to go to the other side of things and talk about my eyeshadow palettes with my least favorite packaging. So if you want to see that, then just don't go anywhere. I did film this eyeshadow look. I can link it down below in the description box if you're interested. And if you're new to my channel, my name's Rachel. I'm a homeschooling stay-at-home mom who loves to play with colorful eyeshadow. I put up lots of videos, a lot of tutorials, and then chatty get ready with me sorts of videos. So if you want to see lots of colorful content on your timeline, I hope you'll consider liking and subscribing because I upload about 3 videos a week. Okay, so in my last video, the packaging that I was talking about was mainly like the most beautifully or aesthetically pleasing packaging that I had, the stuff that I looked at and made me go, oh, so pretty. Now, the packaging in this video is going to have a little bit more criteria. I don't have that many that I find to be just straight up ugly. However, there are different kinds of packaging represented in this video, so I'm just going to dive right in and explain to you my thought process. I'm going to start with the ColourPop plastic palettes. I have 3 of their monochromatic palettes. I've got I Like You a Lot, Mint to Be, and Blue Moon. I love these palettes themselves. The quality of the shadows are amazing and everything, but today we're talking about packaging. So what I don't love is the plastic ColourPop packaging. Now, I don't know why they're still putting out palettes in this packaging. I think largely they have gone over to the cardboard packaging, which is better for the environment. It's a lot slimmer, it's more sleek and slimlined. It's also easier for them to come up with some truly gorgeous designs on the packaging itself. And several of the palettes that I featured in my favorite packaging video were ColourPop cardboard packaging. However, now and then they still release something in this plastic packaging. I'm thinking explicitly the Or Kid You Not palette, which by all accounts is an incredibly good quality, beautifully performing, gorgeous color story palette, but it's in the plastic packaging. Like, why? Why are we still doing this? All I can think of is that maybe they had planned on doing the Or Kid You Not palette back when they were doing all of their monochromatics, and they thought, well, we want it to be just one consistent packaging series where everything within this monochromatic line is in the plastic packaging. And so maybe they already had it in the works from ages past, and they finally got the Or Kid You Not produced, and then they had to use the plastic packaging because that's what they had, and it also fits within the series because all of these monochromatic palettes, I think all of them were in the plastic packaging. So that's the only thing I can figure. Since Or Kid You Not was released, I haven't seen anything else launched in the plastic packaging from ColourPop, so hopefully they're doing away with it. I personally don't like it. It really limits their design options, and it also, like, a couple of them, I don't think I personally have any that don't close anymore, but I've decluttered several from this series, and they wouldn't always close. Like, when you open, it's supposed to have a nice, satisfying snap, which is great, and you know that it's not going to go anywhere in your drawer or whatever. But I had a couple that didn't close all the way. It was like they were warped, so they never snapped, or because it's plastic, the snapping part would just break off. It was just not great. So I really dislike the plastic packaging from ColourPop, and I'm very glad to see that the more they release, the more cardboard packaging you see. Here is the Exotic Peacock palette from Pinky Rose. I don't know exactly what it is about this packaging that I don't like. I think it's the color combination. I think it's so hyper saturated. I like the colors in and of themselves. I like the yellow, I like the pink, I like these different rosy colors. I like that they've got peacock feathers in different blues. It's kind of cartoony and not, I think, as elegant as they wanted it to come across. I really dislike this font. I think it's quite a messy and hard to read font, and honestly I think that this X looks a little bit too much like an R. I just don't like, I think, all the colors together, and what I particularly don't like is that the packaging, the outer packaging, in no way reflects what you get on the inside. Like, where is that super vibrant marigold color that you see everywhere on the packaging? It's not in the palette. You've got the blues and purples, which is fine, but you don't have the yellow. And then this, like, fuchsia colored pink, we don't have that either. This is the only pink, and it's a very purple sort of pink. It's not a bright, vibrant. And then you've got these more rosy, dusty tones, which, again, not represented in here. This shade here called Wings is more of a peachy shimmer. I don't know, I just feel like the packaging doesn't make sense for what you get on the inside of the palette. And even if it did, I still don't particularly like just the way it looks. I mean, I know what's inside the palette when I see the packaging simply because it's the only one I have that looks like this, and I remember what it looks like on the inside, but I don't really care for this packaging personally. This is the Michaela palette from Glamlight. I don't dislike this packaging, but if you've seen the box that this palette came in, I'll find a picture and show it to you. It was these lovely purpley tones, but the box had lines of glitter, very delicate and tastefully appointed lines of glitter, where it was just these thin little streams of glitter, and they ended at different points on the box. And they were really, really pretty. I've actually seen artwork in Hobby Lobby, which has that sort of concept. It's just a wash of beautiful colors, and then it has these lines of glitter that are all ending at different points, like little stalactites or stalagmites poking down into the artwork and ending at random places. And it's tasteful, and I think it's quite elegant and lovely. I wish that the palette itself had that packaging, because I don't particularly dislike this, truthfully. My daughter loves it because it reminds her of the phone cases that have glitter like floating around in water. I think it could be a lot worse, and I'm glad that, like, I know Glamlight has popularized the food-themed packaging, and a lot of their packages, like the Red Velvet Cupcake palette, the Ice Cream Dream, I think, they have actual pieces of plastic that look just like ice cream sprinkles, and those are sort of floating around in the packaging itself. I'm glad that this isn't that, because I really dislike that. I'm not a fan of the food-themed packaging anyway, but I think that this is verging on tacky. Like, it's cute. It is cute. I like that it's all very cool toned and silver and light purples. I like that you can't rub the glitter off. Like, this Michaela is on top of the plastic here, but you can't rub it off, which is nice because it's always annoying when you get glitter on your fingers. But I just think that this, I would have preferred if the palette packaging were the same as the box packaging with just the spires of glitter. And my concern is that this will get broken somehow. I mean, I have a baby who crawls around eating things, breaking things. My concern is that this will get broken, and then I'll have these tiny little flecks of confetti everywhere. And that would be really annoying. So I don't dislike this packaging. I just don't particularly like it. I wish it were something a little bit more elegant, a little bit more tasteful. I feel like I want to mention the BH Cosmetics Birthstone series. These were $9 palettes when they were released. If you bought them the day of release, you could get free shipping. It's a $9 palette, and honestly, the inside, every one of them has pressed glitter, which is terrible quality, but aside from that, these are 6 really good quality BH Cosmetics shadows. BH Cosmetics had a great formula. It's kind of up in the air as to whether or not that formula will survive their buyout from Makeup Revolution, but that's neither here nor there. They have a great formula, and so you get 6 really good quality shadows for $9. It's really not bad. Because it was a $9 palette, I know that they couldn't go over the top for their packaging. Like, they had to keep everything quite economical so that they would make any money at all. And so I understand that. Honestly, I got several of these palettes for $4 because I bought them on Black Friday sales, I think. And the packaging is supposed to reflect the birthstone. So for example, this opal one has pink, purple, green, yellow, sort of. It's supposed to look iridescent, but it's just printed on a plain cardboard package. And it doesn't really look iridescent. It looks more like watercolor, like splotches everywhere. The garnet obviously is supposed to look like a garnet gemstone. It's a very close-up picture where you can see the different facets of the gemstone and how they might look in different lighting. Same thing for the peridot. You see the green, like here would be the circle of the top of the stone, I think, and then the facets of where it's been cut. And turquoise as well. So turquoise, I almost don't want to include in this video because I do kind of like this packaging. I think that this really does look like turquoise because you've got the blue, and it's probably a very, very, very close-up picture of actual turquoise because these seams and flecks of gold look quite realistic. For all I know, these are actual photographs of actual gemstones, and they're just so close that a lower quality image, perhaps, or a lower quality camera was not able to capture the real beauty within the stones. BH Cosmetics has never put much care into quality packaging. Their most recent formula is great, but the packaging, it's like they didn't really care. They just threw in something and released it. I think they're not very innovative with their packaging. For example, look at the travel series from BH Cosmetics. Initially, they were released in just computer-generated, patterns and stuff. For example, Beautiful in Barcelona had stuff that looked kind of like Spanish-themed artwork or something as the packaging. And then they re-released all of those palettes in the newer packaging, which has a photograph of that area. I have the Passion in Paris and the Lost in Los Angeles, and they are photographs of Paris and Los Angeles. I mean, it works. It's obviously on theme, but I don't think that it's very innovative, and it's certainly not very interesting. Maybe if you live in that city and that city has a special place in your heart, then you would want a palette with a picture of LA on it. But for most consumers, it's like, okay, it's, it tells you what it is, and that's as far as it goes. They don't go to the same lengths that ColourPop or Uden's Eye go to make the packaging really special. So these palettes, I mean, for what they are, I get it. They're really economical, good quality shadows for an economical price, and the packaging certainly reflects that. It's nothing very special. All right, I've got two more to talk about. First off is the Play It Jewel palette from ColourPop. The packaging is a kaleidoscope, you know, like one of the kids' toys where you look in and turn all the beads and stuff and they're reflected in the mirrors. That's what this is. I think that this packaging doesn't make sense for the ColourPop collection of mega palettes. This is one of their mega palettes, obviously. They have several others at this point, and all of them have extremely plain matte packaging. There might be one or two that has a few little details, but it's still very, very plain, very like straightforward. You know, the Stone Cold Fox is just plain silvery gray kind of packaging, or white maybe. Gone Matte is matte packaging. Bare Necessities, matte packaging. Smoke and Roses, matte packaging. All of them have really basic packaging, and that's kind of, at this point, it's kind of the shtick for the ColourPop mega palettes. And then this one shows up on scene, and everyone's like, why? Like, first off, the palette itself, we didn't quite understand why Play It Jewel was released so close to It's a Mood with so many similar colors, but the packaging makes no sense. It doesn't work with any of the other extremely plain, basic matte palette packaging within the mega collection. And I don't really understand why. Like, maybe they were trying something out with the market to see how people reacted. Some people love this packaging. Some people really dislike it. I'm kind of in the middle. I don't very much dislike it, but I find it a bit chaotic, and it's a little bit hard to read the words, which are embossed. Play It Jewel is embossed, but the packaging itself is also embossed. Like, these facets from the, you know, like the mirror reflection of the kaleidoscope, some of them are raised, and then we've got several of them being that sort of glossy texture, you see? And so the wording itself gets totally lost in the chaotic and very colorful packaging. I just don't understand it. I don't really dislike it, but I think it could have been done better, particularly with the name. I think the name could have been displayed in a way that was easier to read. It's a little bit much to look at it, honestly. So I don't dislike this packaging. I think it's creative, and on the one hand, I like that they were trying something different as far as putting these shinier areas and whatnot, and I like how it's part of the facets. But on the other hand, it in no way matches the rest of this collection, the Mega Palette series. So it really stands out like a sore thumb for that reason, and it's also a little bit much. A little bit too much for the eyes. It's kind of busy and like, okay, you know. So I don't know, that's how I feel about the Play It Jewel palette. And the last one that I wanted to talk about, this is the reason for today's video. This is the palette that I used for today's eye look. I actually used two for today's eye look, and this is one of them. This is the Beauty Bay Age of Opulence palette. I really dislike this packaging. I really don't like it. I'm not offended by it or anything. It's not the sort of thing where I'm not going to buy the palette because of the packaging, which is the reason for some non-purchases of mine. But I mean, I like the Beauty Bay formula. The shades inside are gorgeous. It's like New Year's Eve in a palette. It's beautiful, and it's really fun to pair it with lighter and pastel colors. Again, today's look is quite dark, but I don't understand this packaging. It's referring to the 1920s. And I actually looked it up because I was curious about the idea of the Age of Opulence, like the name. If I'm remembering correctly, it's been a while, but it's talking about the 1920s and how there was sort of an economic and social boom at the time. A lot of industries were really developing quickly. Obviously, you're coming out of the Great Depression, so people were starting to experience a little bit more ease in their lifestyle. There wasn't so much saving tinfoil and rationing tea. You know, life was starting to pick up again, and there was a lot of industrial boom, developments in industry and technology, and the workforce was changing. It was all a very interesting time. I don't think that this packaging in any way reflects that age. I love the colors within the palette. I think the name Age of Opulence is quite a good name. I think that the shade names within it, we've got Prohibition, Gold Digger, Rich, Vintage, Curfew, Revival, Silk Stockings, Flapper, Jazz, Dandy, Crush, Velvet, Decadent, Speakeasy. These are fabulous names, and they so fit on theme with the 1920s and the flapper era and coming out of the Great Depression. All of that is on theme except for the outer packaging. I don't get it. I don't understand the disco ball. I think part of the planning behind this packaging was how the 2020s is sort of reflective of the 1920s in that we've got a lot of fast advancements, this time not so much industry, but more technology. And of course, with the pandemic, people were locked in their houses and stuff. You couldn't go anywhere. So I really understand that correlation, the 2020s to the 1920s, and how people are coming out again, coming out of their shells. The world is changing, things are moving quickly. The pandemic really initiated a lot of change within the workforce. I totally understand and appreciate and was quite glad that I researched the correlation between these two eras. But the packaging, how does it fit in? Where does the disco ball is not in the 2020s nor the 1920s. The disco ball is 1960s, 70s, 80s. It's like between these two eras. And we've got this weird dripping gold, which maybe is supposed to represent money and financial fluidity within the market. I don't know, but I think it's kind of cheesy. There's this dangling dollar sign that's all blinged out like a wrapper. I don't understand. Again, not 1920s, not really 2020s either. It's just there. Here we've got one woman for sure. I can't see what's behind her, but definitely a woman in a party frock. But it's not a flapper frock. This is like a 1950s, 60s sort of thing. Like I can see her golden hair is down to her shoulders. She's got lace everywhere. She's wearing a strapless dress that comes out in kind of a 1950s era, a teacup sort of style. I don't know. It's not 20s. In 19s or 2000s. I don't get it. We've got these dots of glittery jewels here. They represent the colors within the palette, but nothing else. It's very crafty, like you go to AC Moore and buy glitter to put on your t-shirt sort of jewels. Just, I don't know. And then the gold carries through here. And then we've got the disco ball again. Now the back says, take center stage and celebrate lavishly with the Age of Opulence eyeshadow palette. Inspired by glamour, decadence, and the new roaring 20s. The new roaring 20s is the phrase that I looked up. That would be the 2020s. So reading that directed me to the whole new roaring 20s idea, which told me about the correlation between the 1920s and the 2020s. That was all very interesting. I don't see any of that represented in this packaging. You can see I feel strongly about this packaging. This was the reason for today's video. I don't get it. I don't like it. I try to pretend it's not there when I open it up and see all these beautiful colors. I think that this could have been done so much better. And remember that this was on the heels of the Wilderness palette, which was done quite nicely. The Wilderness palette is this earthy wilderness sort of theme. And the packaging was dark green, like a tree stump. It was like the spirals of a tree stump. I'll just show it to you. Let me just show it to you. Here, the spirals of a tree stump. Do you see that? It's like a very close-up image of tree stump or moss. Back here you can see the spirals a little bit more, but this makes sense. I mean, it's nothing to write home about. It's not incredible, but it at least makes sense for the color story and the theme of the palette. This does not make sense. And I feel so strongly about this one. This is the reason I did today's video. The rest were sort of like, you know, let's find other things I can talk about, but no. That's me. Okay, that's today's video. These are palettes whose packaging I don't really care for a variety of reasons, as you can see. None of them are a reason for me to get rid of a palette, but that's what I've got. That's what I have to say. Let me know in the comments below what maybe there are brands whose packaging you don't like, or if you have any of these that I've mentioned, or maybe you have them and you like them and we can talk about that. I don't know. I like to have conversations in the comments if you feel so inclined. Remember to like and subscribe if you want to see more content on your channel, and until I see you again, I hope you have a great day. Bye.